Hey, this is Mr. Wyrick, and we're going to talk today about some different angle relationships and what they mean. First off, it's very important to remember that these angle relationships are only going to end up being equal and supplementary if we do have parallel lines. Okay, so if we have these little indications that these two lines are parallel, or if we have this, turn like this, and they tell us that these two lines are parallel, that's how we can match these angles up. So the first kind of angles that I want to talk about, or the first kind of classification that we need to make, is this is going to be the interior, and this is going to be the exterior. So this is in between the two parallel lines. That's the interior angles, and then out here, that's exterior angles. And I'll try to get a nice color-coded version of this, but just kind of talking my way through it. When we have this like this, we're going to have this angle here and this angle here, and those are back to being vertical angles. Okay, so these two angles should be congruent with one another. And similarly, if I draw two out here, these two are vertical angles, and they should also be congruent. And then because these lines are parallel, this is basically just taking this exact same thing and sliding it further down this line. So what we're going to find is this right here and this right here also have the exact same measures as the other ones that have two. And this one here and this one here have the exact same measurements as the others that have one. So that means we have some angle relationships where they're all going to be the same. If we go from up here, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. So if we have angles that are like angle number 3 and number 6, 3 and 6, if we have angles that are like number 4 and number 5, those are what we call alternate interior angles. And anytime you have alternate interior angles on parallel lines, there's the bell, it's going to be congruent. 3 and 6 are congruent. They're the exact same measurement. 4 and 5 are congruent. They're the exact same measurement. When we have angles like 1 and 8 or 2 and 7, 1 and 8 or 2 and 7, those are what we call alternate exterior angles. So they alternate the side of that transversal. This is our transversal. They alternate the side of that transversal, and they are going to be congruent. So we've got all of those set up. So then we need to talk about just a couple more relationships. And this one's tough because it involves all of them. I like to think of anything that fits into like a letter F and goes like this. So this would be angles 4 and 8. This would also be angles 6 and 2. This would be angles 1 and 5, here and here. It would also be angles 7 and 3. And we should be able to match up one for every one of them. So we have all 8 of those angles on there. These are what's known as corresponding angles. Anytime you have corresponding angles, the corresponding angles should be congruent. They should match up. Aside from the ones that are congruent, there should be some that are supplementary. And when you have supplementary angles, they are going to add up to make 180 degrees. Now, of course, the linear pairs, 2 and 4, 1 and 3, 5 and 7, 6 and 8, as well as 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8 are going to be supplementary. But when we have consecutive interior angles, 4 and 6, 3 and 5, those are going to add up to make 180. And it's very important to not confuse those consecutive interior angles with the alternate interior angles. Remember, alternate interior is going to need to cross that transversal. Consecutive interior is going to be on the same side. The consecutive, or the I think on these we just call them same side. On the same side, the external angles, number 8 and number 2, should also add up to 180 in much the same fashion. that should cover our angle relationships. You should be able to kind of tell from this which ones are going to be congruent, and hopefully this guides you in the right direction.